Hello, everyone. My name is Attorney Chinwe Foster with the Foster Law Firm. We are continuing with our COVID-19 series, How COVID-19 Infects the Law. And I'm honored to have Solicitor General of Gwinnett County, Brian Whiteside, here with me today. Brian Whiteside has been the Solicitor General in Gwinnett since 2019. Thank you so much for being with us today, Attorney Whiteside.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Attorney Whiteside, Solicitor Whiteside, I am happy to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you because you were one of the first Solicitor Generals in Georgia. Uh, Different counties were issuing stay-at-home, shelter-in-place orders, but no Solicitor General actually came out and issued an order or a statement saying that you were going to enforce the order. Can you please tell my subscribers, listeners, the general public, why you decided to do that?
Well, I want to state one thing too. We're also the first solicitor in America to basically go and ask that marijuana would be legal once the hemp laws would change, because statistically and constitutionally, you can't tell the difference with the machine or any type of road stopping device. So we're basically about equality and try to be very futuristic about things. But I think if you look at the reasons why we put a notice out that we would enforce the law, is because we, or I did and my staff, observed various violations prior to the notice went out. I drove my own personal car, put my own personal gas in there. I'm issued a county car, but to be less conspicuous, I drove my own car. And I saw a variety of nail salons that were open. We put those pictures on Facebook. Almost 30 to 50 cars in front of one nail salon in Snellville. I drove through Snellville and saw Applebee's had signs, which I have documented, that says dine in open.
Oh.
And the recommendation was at that period that less than 10 people be in a area, that dine in was not basically requested by medical officials, that pickup would be more beneficial. Then, of course, my background is my wife has been a nurse for about 37 years. We're both graduates of Purdue University. I've been married for 43 years. And I've been informed that it's an airborne virus that stays in the air for 1 hour. And then it moves around. It lasts for 5 days. Historically, it can last for 14 days on a cruise ship. Proportionally, mathematically, the more people you have together, the more chance you have of getting the virus and dying. We have a 55 and over community, and we go into the ages of 60 in Gwinnett. A great deal of our community is designed to be for 55 and over and 60 and over in the future. We have condos downtown. We have a great deal of Hispanics, Asians, Blacks, whites who historically have lived here. They have a grandma, a granddad, uncle, aunt in the age group. They are at risk. I made a decision to basically inform the lawbreakers. I also drove around in Beaufort and saw 15 people together at a quick trip with various racing cars, various motorcycles. They were gathering together after the President of the United States put out the recommendation that it be 10 or less, 6 feet apart. Even that is not the case. If you look at recent studies and talk about exercise and being in an environment, if a person is breathing, if a person is talking, the airborne virus comes out. The wind moves, it can go anywhere. So these are the considerations you have to make when you take an oath of office. Before this, I was a police officer for 15 years. My dad was in the Strategic Air Command. He was charged with the responsibility of nuclear weapons and saving people in air sea rescue. So when we make decisions, we look at our background. I look at my father's background, I look at my mother's background. She was a teacher. My father became a teacher. Both were graduates of Central State University, Historical Black University. Then they went on to IU and got their master's degree. My brother is a police officer. He became an attorney. He's now, I believe, an insurance investigator. So we look at all that. My son is a deputy sheriff. He's getting ready to go to law school. When we make decisions, we make it on our own background. I made life and death decisions every day in a car, a police car in Gary, Indiana. So I'm used to making life and death decisions. And I chose life for the people here because somebody has to stand up. You can sit down and do nothing, but people die. Mm-hmm. It should have came out a long time ago. The president should have told, and he should have interacted with each and every state to ask what the needs are. But the point about it, it should not be me making these recommendations. It should not be a politician. A medical professional needs to come out and say, you need to shelter in place. If you are walking in a park, the air blows, the airborne virus can get in your nasal passages. We should turn this over to medical professionals instead of politicizing this. This is not a race virus. This is not a Republican virus. It's a virus that is genetically designed to kill human cells. That little ball you see that everybody represents on TV with the little red things in it, mm-hmm. From what I've been told, that is a human cell. It is attacked by those red objects and it kills those cells. So why did I make that decision? Because for 15 years, I faced gunfire, fighting 3 or 4 people. I know what it takes to live. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I went to law school, because I wanted a different life. I chose life. So you can't worry about being reelected. You do what's right.
That is excellent. It sounds like you really got your information, that you made your decision based on not just your life choices, but in trying to protect the residents of Gwinnett County. And I'm sure many of them, upon seeing this interview, will appreciate that.
Now, let me add something too, because you can't sit in an office. You have to go out and patrol and see what's going on. Do you see people in groups? Do you see people running red lights? So that's what I do from being a patrol officer. Then I was a detective in Gary, Indiana also. I did in-progress crime. It's called cruiser crime. I responded to every home invasion. I responded to every bank robbery. I responded to every type of in-progress crime, crimes in progress, people getting robbed at ATM. So I bring that to the plate. But I also bring to the plate, number one, is that some people just don't want to do right. So we had to make a decision to put that out there and say, I'm going to give you, 6 months in jail, possible. And people read the order, says it's possible. 6 months in jail, up to $1,000 fine. If you look what Governor Kemp has stated, I think his is even more strenuous. I think there's a 12-month proponent in regard to that. But go ahead, ma'am. Thank you.
No, and that's good information. So just kind of talking about the 6 months in jail, like you mentioned, in your statement, you stated individuals who would endanger the public with a reckless disregard for the health and safety of others will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So are you saying that you're actually going to put people in jail if they are found violating this?
Well, I can't put them in jail. You, as you know, as a wonderful defense attorney coming in for that. We don't want to make our judges mad. I can only make a recommendation. Mm-hmm. I make the recommendation. The judges have the ultimate power to do that. But you have to look at what you said, and I love what you just said. People need to read what I put out there. Reckless is the main ingredient in there. Mm-hmm. We would investigate it and make our recommendation. We just can't say blanketly that I would give you jail or $1,000. I'd have to evaluate that situation. Then we turn it over to the judges. But we would hope that if somebody looks at the fact that a great deal of our attorneys are former Marines, a great deal of our people are service people who served this country under gunfire, under adverse conditions. Our attorneys went back to school. We have 2 attorneys that went to Gwinnett PD that are now prosecutors. Our chief is a former Marine. So when we make a recommendation, it's based upon police experience, military experience, life experience, and a lot of things are based on being a father. Like I try to tell my kids, I'm not your friend, I'm not your buddy, I'm your father. That's what my father told me. I tell people, I'm not your friend, I'm not your buddy, I'm not your pal. You might like the marijuana law I propose, but I'm the Solicitor General. When it comes down, you hire me to protect your life. Mm-hmm. That's what we're here for.
Okay, okay. Now, have anyone? Do you know whether there have been people who have been arrested for so far for violating this stay-at-home shelter-in-place order?
Well, not in Gwinnett that I know of, but I think there was one person, I think, in another county they had to chase him. And I think they got him, of course, for obstruction, and I think it might have been DUI. And I don't know if they put on the actual. You can add the component of disobeying a standing order,
Mm-hmm.
emergency order, the code. I think that's the 30-some code in regard to that. I tell you, our police officers love it
Mm-hmm.
because we came out and said, "Hey, I'm going to back you." Most of them don't even have a mask. Most of them don't have any type of equipment because it's an emergency situation unknown, so they haven't been issued to that. So why do they want to come in contact with these people? That would just infect them more. Right now in Chicago, we got 15% of the police department out, New York. So the whole point about that is what we're trying to do is deter the law breakers
Mm-hmm.
from coming out and basically giving you an advisement. It's like, your dad tells you, hey, I'm leaving the house. I don't want you guys going out. So you get a notice when you come back home, you find the kids out there, they're driving your 1967 Impala with special engine. So they got to stay in the house. They're under house arrest. Okay. A lot of us have been fathers. A lot of us have been mothers. A lot of us have had fathers and mothers. And it's the same concept. It's not that people are children, but you have to make an ethical, moral decision. And it doesn't come, when you catch Johnny in the cookie jar instead of having three, took four. It comes to you when you step out. There are viruses out there. We need to help you save your own life.
Definitely. So well, I think one of the reasons maybe Gwinnett that you haven't seen it a lot is because again, you were one of the first and only Solicitor Generals who took such a strong stance on it. So that may have played a part in deterring people from going out because they don't want to be fined and they don't want to risk the possibility of going to jail. And you mentioned the officers. So are you in contact with the Gwinnett County Police Departments? Are they actually patrolling the streets
Oh,
looking
yeah,
for
they're
people?
patrolling the streets and they're arresting people. And we send out a notice to all the police departments, as I know. My executive director of public relations, our team, she sent all those things out. She's the one that keeps me out of trouble. And we try to, she, I'm never politically correct.
I can see.
They fight real hard to make me that way. But we sent everything out to the police chiefs, sent everything out to the judges because they need to be notified. So they are patrolling the streets. It's mythical that they're not, and they're arresting people. Now, I tell you what we're doing over at the county jail. If a person gets arrested for a misdemeanor, we actually have a person, an attorney stationed at the jail 24 hours. They evaluate that person's record and they recommend whether they get an OR bond if it's nonviolent or a regular bond or no bond. And if we have any violent crimes, we recommend just a bond. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a violent crime, family violence, battery, even simple battery, because if a person has that type of history, we don't want them out in society now with a police presence that is consistently occupied with staying alive and dealing with major affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try to explain something too is that we're not just giving OR bonds out here to be politically correct. If you come into our jail, our duty attorney, they look at a person's criminal record. And I try to tell, just like you're a defense attorney, I told my clients, they said, Mr. Whiteside, what kind of plea am I going to get? Or what type of sentence am I going to get? Most likely a plea. Because if we went to trial, I won about 80% of my cases when I was a defense attorney. You can look those up in Gwinnett County, all trial, about 85% of my cases. I knew what I was doing.
Uh-huh.
So the whole point about that is, I said, well, let me ask you a question. Let's look at your criminal record. Do you have Mercedes credit or do you have hoopty credit? Because if you got hoopty credit, that means you go to Atlanta Classic Cars and they run your credit. You've got $500 pair of shoes on, you got creased pants, and you got a tie. And they say, okay, well, your credit's pretty bad. You got hoopty credit. Can you come with me? They take you out back and there's a chain link fence and they get that old beat up car. And so I tell people this, you come in, so like, this is what people think. Hey, I'm going to shoplift. They're going to let me out. There's a pandemic. But see, you got hoopty credit. You got 3 batteries, you got 3 batteries, 2 years apart, and you beat your dog. Now, you can't beat your dog in Gwinnett County because that's the worst thing you can do. You know that as an attorney.
I do
You
know
beat
that.
your dog, you're going to jail.
You
Okay?
definitely are.
Right. So you got 3 offenses against children, beating women, beat your neighbor up because he cut his grass at 7 in the morning, and you shoplifted at Walmart. So you think you're gonna walk out? No, sir. You got hoopty credit. You're gonna you might get a bond, but it's gonna be a high bond, or we recommend no bond because of your prior history.
Uh-huh.
So it's just the same thing like anything in life. If you have a bad credit report, you just can't expect to walk out here and be among the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, shoplifting, clean history, minor things, but even certain things like stealing, uh, you know, any type of fraud or something like that, you need to look at that because in this type of environment, people are ripe for fraud and theft.
Mm.
So a lot of people are getting bonds if they have certain events that show that they're not a threat to society. So we have, as of today, in 2.5 weeks, we've given like, I think 44 signature bonds or low bonds, to basically lower the burden upon the staff in the jail.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like anything else in life. You have to pass the test. You just can't expect in life to, say, hey, I'm going to get this, because it sends a bad message in a county where we have a high educational goal, the
Mm-hmm.
highest rated high schools. We have colleges. We actually have high schools that teach healthcare. I can't release people out into this environment, and then, as you know, as an attorney, they go tell their buddies, hey, they ain't nobody. Because the woman that's getting her gas at 6 in the morning, who just came from Gwinnett Hospital with the nurse, and somebody puts a gun in her ribs, I'm responsible for that because there's no deterrence. A
Yeah.
doctor comes out, he's worked 12 hours. Yesterday, my wife worked at 10 p.m. She does dialysis. She's like a manager and CEO over dialysis. So at 10 o'clock, Democrat, I put on 2 guns, which I have a right to carry as a solicitor, and I escorted my wife home. Now, that may offend some people, but that's my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's going to put a gun in her ribs. Now, what if her car stops and we got people who haven't been deterred and she's killed? Everybody that's talking about release everybody, well, they need to pass the test. Because when your car stops, they got to say, well, hey, man, we need to keep moving because that guy is going to put us in jail. That's what I want them to say. But I want them to also say, if you come to the Gwinnett County, we're going to have a defense attorneys call us all the time. They present their cases. We negotiate them. If it looks bad, they can go to trial.
Mm-hmm.
But a criminal needs to know that you're not wanted here. But families are wanted here. You have Hispanic people. They have historically. Just go to a restaurant. They got a grandmother, a grandfather. Everybody's together. So a lot of things we do are to protect the entire family focus. We want this to be an educational community where people can come and say, I'm comfortable here. I want you to be comfortable, but I don't want, see, it's just like I was never comfortable as a child. My father's like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? You're a football player. Why aren't you lifting weights today? Okay, you want to go to Purdue? Well, you better pass the SAT. Clean up your room. There's some dust in the corner. So people should not be comfortable if they're wrong. So anyway.
I mean, as a defense attorney who practices in Gwinnett, I think that it is pretty well known that the Gwinnett is tough on crime. The sentences, I mean, of course, most of my cases I do resolve and handle without my clients having to do jail. But I think that, I mean, you're correct. People know that Gwinnett County is tough on crime. Now, let me ask you this. You mentioned about the domestic violence cases. I know with other individuals that I've interviewed and spoken to, I've heard over and over that with everyone being quarantined and everyone being at home, that the domestic violence cases are going to increase. Have you actually seen an uptick in domestic cases in Gwinnett County?
Not actually at this point, because most likely they may not be reporting it.
Mm,
But the emphasis is that if we do get them, you don't get an OR bond because you're not going home
mm,
uh, unless we can assure that there's not going to be any future violence, which we can never assure. So you have to give a reasonable bond. A reasonable bond is a bond that prevents death. At one point in Gwinnett County, we had at least 4 or 5 people who got out on domestic violence. They signed a little piece of paper that says a anti-violence order, standing order. It's just a
mm,
piece of paper. They didn't went out and killed their wives and girlfriends. It's about 8 years ago.
mm.
So, and see, this is the things you have to weigh when you're a supposed politician. That do you come out with a notice and say, if there is domestic violence, the recommendation of the solicitor is 12 months in jail. The people get up in arms about that. But maybe it'll deter somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll help because there's people, like you said, they're stuck in a home. And now the domestic violence may be increasing. And then it's the future generation too, because then that person is, a model for the young lady that sees her mother getting beaten, the son who sees the father getting beating someone, or the mother beating them. Some of them, okay, we got mothers beating.
That definitely happens. There's
Right.
women out there who beat their husbands and
See,
men.
there's a lot of things though that you do. You need the judge to help you. We had one case where a young lady had a disagreement with her boyfriend, and she took a shotgun, put it in his face, racked the gun, and basically, it really should have been aggravated assault, but it was kicked down to us from the district attorney. Why, I don't know. And so now we had to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my recommendation was, 6 to 7 months in jail, which we don't expect to get. We expect, it's going to be 2 for 1 anyway. The attorney would negotiate. So I think it was Judge Bratton had it here, and basically his sentence was probation. Now that's great when you're a defense attorney because you're going to make a heck of a lot more money, and they say you got a good job, hire this young person. But it's not good for the citizens of Gwinnett.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is people go back, hey man, they ain't doing nothing over there. I had a shotgun. Now you put a shotgun on somebody, you rack it, pump it, and basically threaten someone's life. And then the judge says, you can get the transcript. Our attorneys were in there, and everybody does a transcript when they, at the plea. And the guy, the judge says, oh, she lost her job. And see, these are the things you have to weigh. Because I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but the judge is running for re-election now. Now, is that the guy you want when you come to Gwinnett? Your house is $350,000.
I will say this though, Solicitor Whiteside, I'm sure that there were other factors that the judge considered. It wasn't just.
Well, let me ask you, what can you weigh? What can you weigh when somebody puts a shotgun in someone's face?
Was she defending herself?
No, ma'am. She was no, ma'am. No, she put the gun in his face. It was a disagreement, an argument, and you as a defense attorney, I can show you that file. We can get that file to you.
I'll go get it. We have to discuss it
off
the record.
Off the record. But I want you off the record to look at these things because, see, one day you'll probably run for office, and then all of a sudden your whole life changes. Like, what is my duty to protect? Because the same guy you let go, as you get older, is going to be dating your teenage daughter. That's something I think. Or you're dating your son. That lady right there to put a gun in somebody's face. That's the lady that he's going to see at the club and bring home the mom. I've been there. My daughter's dated those type of guys.
Oh my God.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Let me move on from that because I'm sure we could talk about this for a while.
Yes, we will. Call me. I'll give you my number after this.
Okay, definitely. You mentioned earlier that you saw business owners, barbers, hairdressers with people still having clients. Mm-hmm. So are business owners being prosecuted as well? Well,
I think that the one big emphasis was not the individuals, but to have the business owners to come in compliance. Mm-hmm. The first stay-in-place order that Charlotte Nash and our commissioners put in had a component that the police would first try to advise people and educate them in regard to their behavior. An arrest is the last resort. If you see 15 people together, you say, hey, do you guys know that there's a standing order, the president has said this? And most people just go ahead and move on. An arrest is going to come into play when you see like 20 guys playing basketball. You say, hey, buddy, you guys know it? Yeah, man, we know it. Okay, it's cool. We're going to get out of here. So you come back an hour later after you go get your donut at Dunkin' Donuts and dip it in your coffee. And those guys, they say, hey, what are you doing here? I'm eating my donut, not going to deal with you. Okay, hey, we're going to leave. Okay, I'm going to go. So now you go get through the drive-thru, you go get a burger, talk to your buddy in the patrol car, you patrol a little bit. They're still out there playing basketball. Okay, you got to go to jail.
Okay, well,
that's how it's going to work.
Well, let me ask you this, because there is some confusion that people can work out. So if those guys playing basketball, if it was less than 10, they would be okay, or it's not okay?
Well, the way it looks like
as long as they're 6 feet apart.
I mean, as long as they can shoot probably a 6 foot or 12-foot jump shot, they might be okay.
You can't play defense from 6 feet, so maybe.
Yeah, but I think the way it goes is it's going to be more discretion. You have to be 6 feet away in regard to that. So if you have 5 people out there, they're 6 feet away, but they're probably going to get an advice. Just advice, because most people are not going to try to violate the order. And if a lot of guys are out there playing basketball, they probably know each other, they want to exercise. They may not be cognizant that this, 4 or 5 team sports is not in the 6 feet distance. So, it's sort of strange because, see, this is what happens when you don't have leadership. The president should have came out with a definitive, strong, stay-in-place order. He should have called all the governors and made the rules.
Yes.
And just ordered it in executive order. But you can't tell people that this is on you because they have to make a living. You have to understand that this is a pandemic. If we would have sheltered a month ago when the president came out, we wouldn't be where we are now.
I agree. Yeah. There's definitely some.
And the governor. Yeah.
There were missteps that were definitely made. Now, with that, tell me how are you guys handling this in your office and in the court system with basically non-essential matters are not really being handled. Tell me, how is your office dealing with this?
Well, basically, we have the jail open. The jail is open for pleas, misdemeanor bonds, probation cases. A great deal of the probation cases where people were on probation, we did waivers. Let's say, you had a shoplifting and you had 10 months to go forward with your probation. Those were just waived. That way they're not in the system, they're not coming in the office. So what we've done is, under the Supreme Court guideline, is essential. We think it's essential that people be able to have a bond because, first of all, as you know, a lot of people are arrested, but then with a good defense attorney and a good investigation, some people go free because you can prove conclusively whether it was a legal factor or they are just outright not guilty, that they have to have a day in court. So we have to have a bonding situation. This is the United States of America. This is Gwinnett County. So you come in, so essentially we're trying to operate that you can get a bond, go home. You are innocent before proven guilty. So we're working with the sheriff department to do that, to keep the jail court open. And so that's a containment situation. So what happens, we actually have court in the jail. As you know, as a defense attorney, you've probably been there. People come in, they get processed and they take their temperature. The sheriff department, they take our temperatures when we come in. Mine is usually like 95.5, because just, I'm sort of a low temperature, and you can tell, very even keeled guy.
Of course.
Of course, yes, ma'am. So never intense. But the point about that is they take our temperature every day. And they take the temperature of the inmates and all the staff also. So essentially, we keep the jails open to assure that people have a chance to move forward and get released in society if they pass that criteria of not being a danger to society.
Okay. So the people who are out on bond, those cases right now are not really being handled.
Oh, no, ma'am. You don't have a capacity because the courts are closed. The court system, arraignment is closed. See, when it comes down to a life and death situation, people have to ask, is it essential that I make a plea of guilty or not guilty. So technically, in a way, you've been affirmed as not guilty at the point when you're released. Now your attorney can handle that. But would you want to come in an environment in a courtroom with 200 people? They don't have enough nice masks for medical people, and people are putting scarves, bandanas, napkins on their face, and the virus is microscopic. It's going to penetrate those.
Yeah.
So everybody would be at risk. So there's a health factor also. You have to weigh the health factor against your right to trial. And that is chilled because basically you could die if you come in the court system. So we had to clean the courthouse because somebody was alleged possibly to have been infected. So the court was shut down for like 3 or 4 days. A total cleansing was done of the courthouse, and now we re-entered it. So that's where we are now, keeping the jail open so people can achieve some type of freedom until we can investigate it thoroughly. And of course, work with the defense attorneys. And people have to know that one of the most important parts of the justice system is your defense attorney.
Yeah.
You have to have a dutiful attorney that is aggressive and uncaring about what we think. But you have to be diplomatic. I have people that email me, hey, you better do this. I want to diverge. And I call them and say, look, you can come in, you can have lunch, you can do this and that, we can talk, but you don't tell me what we better do. What you do is supposed to provide information for your client. You tell your client, you say, look, the policeman made a mistake, this wasn't right, the lady has come back and recanted. That's how we negotiate. And we'll look at that and say, oh, it's a bad witness. So it's a lot of things, but see, our staff is still doing that in intake. We have intake that is open. We have people that are coming in intake, and they're looking at the cases. And a lot of times we'll get our investigators, especially our guys who've been cops. Like, hey, Brian, it's a bad case, throw it out. So we throw out a lot of cases too, because we get a feel for it. As a police officer, I can look at an ex-police, I can look at a case and say, this is garbage. That lady's lying. We have 7 investigators, actually 11 with our chiefs and other people, and we'll send them out and talk to people. We have victim assistance people, they'll make a call. And it's important you hire the right people, because you can listen to a person and you say, something not right about that, and this guy, he doesn't have a record, his girlfriend or so-and-so said that. I tell them, go out and check that. And they'll come in, and then a lot of people will admit they lied. So it's important that you have a defense attorney.
Definitely. I'm glad you said that. I'm definitely glad that you said that, because there's a lot of cases, at least, that someone gets into it, someone's mad, they make a statement, and once you investigate it, you see that it's not really what it is. And a good defense attorney being able to speak with solicitor's office, with a solicitor like you who is fair and actually listens and knows both sides, I think that helps in getting cases resolved. But Solicitor Whiteside, this is, I guess, a good place for us to close. Before we leave, do you have any statements to say to Gwinnett County residents, the general public, people who are watching this interview?
Well, I can only say that, I hope everybody stays safe. There's a lot of people out here that you can't use the word sacrifice, but they protect you, because this is the job we chose to do, job that we think is best for you. So, protect yourself as we would protect you. And I'd like to say that people need to take a tour of our office. They need to call us when this is over. And we need to plan ahead for success, because this is going to come out okay. The businesses will be a little bit different. People will be a little bit different. I was in the dollar store. I saw people buying books, people writing easels and things like that. So you have to take the good with the bad. It's like my father used to say. He was a boxer also. You got to roll with the punches. So I said, we gotta gut it out here. Okay.
That is a great statement. Thank you so much, Solicitor Brian Whiteside. I really appreciate you being here. I'm sure my listeners will really appreciate your candidness and how informative you were in this interview. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
And we will be sending you our personal cell phone number on your link. So thank you very much, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Solicitor Whiteside. Thank you again to Solicitor Brian Whiteside, the Solicitor General of Gwinnett County, for being with us today. If you have any case in Gwinnett County or in any county in Georgia, you're welcome to give me a call. I'm attorney Chinwe Foster with the Foster Law Firm, where we specialize in aggressive and effective legal representation. You can contact my office at 404 525 3082, or you can go to our website at fosterlawga.com. Thank you for watching.